Okay. Oh, great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and last session. Woo! So today, my name is Clare Witt, and I will be talking to you about redefining learning, inclusion through dyslexia. And the reason I've chosen dyslexia in particular is because I myself have it. And I have been reflecting on my educational journey as graduation comes up and kind of just my experience through learning with dyslexia. So I really focused in on my struggles, and I just felt like I wish learning had been easier for me. And so that kind of has fueled the passion for my project. And to get started, before I dive deeper into it, I want to kind of mentally get you in the emotional mindset of someone with dyslexia, or at least my personal interpretation. So I'm going to play a video for you first. And just slight warning, it does have flashing images and some loud sounds. And technical difficulty. Okay, now that you've seen more of the emotional side, I wanted to then afterwards get into more of the factual side. So, dyslexia, if you don't know, is a learning disorder, or now as it's called, a neurodiversity that makes learning difficult to process, and especially when it comes to writing, reading, and math. As you can see above, there's some more symptoms for you. But to kind of actually see what it's like, I've created this animation of what it looks like for me to read. So oftentimes, words are blurring or moving, and it makes it very difficult to track. So, kind of back to that initial thought or passion I mentioned of there's got to be a better way for people with dyslexia to learn. I really had this hunch that I could create a tool that would help them, but I wanted to make sure it just wasn't my own personal hunch and that it was actually needed out there. So I started identifying stakeholder groups that could really help give me more knowledge about what having dyslexia or dealing with it is like. So the first group I reached out to was those who have dyslexia. Of course, I have my own personal stories about dyslexia, but I wanted to see what it was like for other people and if they had similar situations as myself. So my person I talked to was Jacob, and he actually has cerebral palsy, and dyslexia is his secondary disorder that he says he has. And when we were comparing stories of growing up and dealing with education, we found a lot of similarities of being put down or not told we're good enough or separated from the classroom, and that our learning was really disrupted by that. So, from him and talking with him more, I noticed that this tool that I wanted to create needs to help kids with dyslexia in the sense that it needs to motivate them to learn more instead of putting them back. And it needs to be done in front of other students so they're not excluded or feel like they're not part of the bigger community of the classroom. So the second stakeholder group I identified were people who diagnose dyslexia. So I talked to Sarah, and she no longer diagnoses, she teaches, but she still uses what she learned from dyslexia and the accommodations that are needed in her classroom. So she allows technology in the classroom so they can implement text to speech or speech to text. She gives students who are struggling extra time. So she'll stay with them after class or meet before. And then Lastly, she grades for comprehension rather than grammar mistakes to make sure students are understanding the full picture rather than fixating on things that can be fixed. And from her, I learned that accommodations are so important to a student's learning journey and that they need them in order to not only succeed in the classroom, but feel positive about themselves. So the last stakeholder group I identified were people who work with people who have dyslexia. First, I talked with Leah, and she explain she's a learning advocate, so she's kind of the middleman between someone who's diagnosed with dyslexia and the school system. So she fights for them to get those accommodations, and she was explaining, kind of like Sarah, the importance of accommodations, but also how if these students don't get them, not only are they falling behind in their education, but it totally affects their life and can affect the life choices they make later down the road. And then the last person I talked to was Gail, and she was a teacher of 15 years, and she was kind of seen as the troublemaker teacher because she went out of her way to use her personal resources and money to make sure students had accommodations. And when I asked her what accommodations her school system did provide, she said, "It's really bad. I can't think of any." So from both of them, I learned, like Sarah, as I mentioned, accommodations are important, but accommodations need to be made easily accessible in the classroom. So from these interviews, I identify three main target goals that I wanted my learning tool to have. And first, that it is aimed towards 8 to 9 year olds. This is because a lot of times when you have dyslexia, this is when you start seeing symptoms in students. And at least in the US, this is when standardized testing is introduced. So the reading, writing, math, that's really, really difficult for them. And so if this tool is implemented to them, it's not only going to help them do well in those tests, but it's also going to help prevent any educational traumas they may face. The second target goal I identified was that I want my learning tool to automatically adapt to its neurodiversity. So when I'm logging in, I want to be able to check, hey, I have dyslexia, and everything in the interfaces automatically changes to fonts that help with dyslexia, colors, accommodations. It's all in one place rather than in a bunch of different separate applications. And then the last target goal I identified was making sure it was easily adaptable in classroom settings. So I want not only kids to find this easy, but teachers. So then teachers feel like this is something fun and easy for me to put in the classroom and that students will enjoy. So part of the key functionalities I want this learning tool to have is AI tracking. And this is for kids who are diagnosed and who aren't diagnosed. If kids are diagnosed, then it's showing the improvement the accommodations is giving them, and it's that digital proof right there. Then if it isn't, if kids aren't diagnosed, then it's picking up patterns of, well, for example, with dyslexia, oftentimes you switch B's and D's. So the AI is picking that up and noticing that and recommending the accommodations and then tracking if the student does better with them or not, which allows a parent or a student to go to the school system and say, hey, I have this proof that I need a diagnosis. I also want to implement instant messaging between teachers and students to kind of bring out that awkward, I don't know the answer, I'm raising my hand, I don't want this extra attention on me. So this way, if the student does have a question, they can message the teacher and say, hey, can I just stay after class, or can we just work on this one-on-one right now, but don't make it obvious you're coming over to help me. I want customizable interfaces. So this includes layout, being able to drag anything everywhere, and also themes and icons that the students will enjoy. I want to make sure all the learning materials are easily accessible because sometimes a way a teacher particularly taught something was extremely helpful to me. So if I can go back in a database and pull out that lesson and see, oh, wow, this is how they taught it, maybe I can use that in another area that's giving me difficulty. I think that would make a huge improvement. And then lastly, I want different interfaces for students, teachers, and parents to kind of open up communication pathways more easily between them, because in a student with dyslexia's life, teachers and parents are the most important figures for them. So I'm going to take you on a user journey. This is Billy. He's a third grader who has dyslexia, and he's been struggling. He's not doing well grade-wise. He doesn't understand what's going on, and he just feels bad about his ability to learn. So with my learning tool implemented, Billy is then encouraged to, hey, explore this, see what's going on, really dive in and take advantage of it. So he does. He makes an account and he customizes it and checks off that he has dyslexia. And all the accommodations are in one place for him. And he's starting to really learn better and really comprehend what his teacher is teaching him. And this is helping not only with his grades overall, and he's really seeing improvement with that, but he's starting to believe in himself again. And he knows that he's smart. He's not putting himself down anymore. So some of this formatting I've been talking about that, for an example, with dyslexia, that would be automatically included would be fonts. You want larger fonts with more spacing. This body text, in fact, is is made for people with dyslexia. So it's got more weight on the bottom so you don't flip letters, and also more spacing so it's not all kind of mushed together. For formatting wise, you want your heading to be 20% larger. You want extra spaces, really breaking it up and making it clear what's what. And then for colors, you want to use single backgrounds, make sure there's strong contrast, and that you avoid certain colors because it actually makes it more difficult to read. So, this working learning tool with a working title that is called Beyond Learning. And for my customizable interface, I chose with space because having dyslexia and learning, sometimes I feel like I'm on my own little planet and I'm my own little alien seeing the world in a different place. So, I really wanted to like explore and make that fun and bring that to learning. But what won't change after I do some testing and find out more research is the basic student interface of what they'll have. So they'll have their daily to-dos, which will include homework or lessons the teacher wants to cover or chapters of their book they need to read. Next, they'll have supplies needed. So anything their teacher wants them to bring. So that can include, like I said, a book, a pencil, a smile to class. They'll have their accommodations all in one place that they can customize in having some appear and some not. I know when I'm working on a paper, I like to have text to speech, but I don't really need video to text. So they can have what they want for certain assignments on there. And then lastly, learning tools is just where that archive of data and lessons will be held, as well as the instant messaging or any group work or any other features the teacher thinks is important for them to learn. So, overall, my goal and hope is that after testing and really playing and seeing what students respond to help the next generation of children with dyslexia and help learning be easier for them, I'm going to be applying for funding this summer and hopefully making it happen. And also, I hope that you feel a call to action of that. Share your resources, share your knowledge, and together we can come together and find the best solution for those with neurodiversities. Thank you. And next is Sarah.
All right, everybody, give it up for Claire again. Yay! We're all really excited to be almost done here. I know. Just me, and then one more, and then a super awesome keynote again. So this is my capstone title, Mind Over Art. But before I get into that, I am trying to make this work again, which it is not. Thank you. I would like to lead you all in a short meditation. If you'll please sit in your seat with both feet flat on the ground, close your eyes, just focus on your breath for a minute. Feel how it's coming in and out. And when you found it, start to try to control it a little bit by doing an inhale for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding it for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Exhaling for a count of 4, 2, 3, 4. And holding it again for another count of 4, 2, 3, 4. And just practice that a couple more times with your feet flat on the ground until you feel grounded. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back into the room. Ah, it works. So, to bring you back again, Mind Over Art, my capstone here, is a collection of activities aimed at middle school age children to learn new art styles, including crafts and things, grow closer to nature, and overall practice mindfulness. In order to start this project, I asked myself a series of questions, and I'll take you through those answers now. The first is that I learned about this term biophilia, and I sort of looked into what biophilia means. It was written by a biologist and author in his book by Biophilia, and his name is E.O. Wilson, and that book came out in 1984. And since then, there's been a ton of research done on this topic, and everybody has their own paraphrased definition of what biophilia is, but this is my version. Biophilia is the need for humans to be connected, influenced, and surrounded by nature, as opposed to the concrete world we have built as a global society in recent years. From there, I wanted to look at what the relationship between nature and its impact on that middle school age target group I said I was focusing on. Things that I found were that children who do not have enough access to nature have a lot of issues in the classroom, similar to some of the ones that Claire mentioned in the last presentation. Their attention span has a real issue here, and that is related to an insufficient forming of their white matter because of not being outside enough. And physical pain symptoms are getting increasingly worse, including tech neck starting in children as young as 7 years old, and carpal tunnel and repetitive motion strain from all the technology that we're using in classrooms these days. There has been some studies that show the benefit that having extra outdoor time and having break time from the classroom give to these students, and they're mostly self-reported measures. In psychology, which is my undergraduate degree, some of these self-reported measures are they're considered biased because they just don't necessarily have the easiest to understand answers, and everybody's going to feel their own way about it. But in this project, I care about what the students say is helping them. So that's not really a con for me here. So from there, I wanted to look at how might I implement those nature-based solutions into the classroom. I found a couple studies of people who are already trying to do things like this, one of which is a teacher in Colorado who implemented a 1-to-1 plant to student ratio in her classroom. And it was so successful watching the students care for their plants, teaching them how to grow plants, that the school decided to implement it in the entire school building next year. This is also paired with an idea called greening a public schoolyard, which means to take the school area that already exists, the outdoor areas that already exist, look at the local biodiversity and biophilia there, and give a student that's based in their local school give a student a plant that's there based in their local school to connect them to nature and the school together. Some schools have a bit more difficulty or aren't given that much property, so there are still definite solutions that you can include. Some of those include just bringing more natural light into the school. And again, that can still be difficult because often classrooms are in the middle of a school building with no access to the outside. And for those ones, I suggest to bring in nature patterns, shapes, and colors into the classroom. There's a company that's doing this already with those sort of pop out ceiling tiles, and they have images of leaves and the sky on them. And they found that with those installed in the classrooms, the teachers are able to give 30 more hours a year of instructional time because of the focus that the children get from just looking up and then coming back. So with that, I kind of wanted to bring in some of that psychology background that I have, and I looked at how might we teach mindfulness to the same age group of children. Mindfulness is a bit of a difficult topic to study in these children because it is considered a higher cognitive function that they have not developed yet. That's why activities like what I just led you on, that breathing exercise, are a bit difficult for students of that age to understand how to do. They don't want to sit still, they want to move around, they want to try new things. And so this was what led me to looking at visual expression, art, design, crafts. All of these things give students a sense of curiosity, which then prompts them to reflect on their process and their activity. And reflection is also a mindfulness technique. So by bringing visual expression, mindfulness, and nature together, we can help kids, feel more relaxed, connected, and focused on their lives. So, how did I decide on the whole collection of activity ideas? There were several things that led to this, but one of the first things I needed to focus on was how long the activities take. As we know as designers, that we can take months, years, constantly editing and changing our designs, and artists know the same. So I looked at how long a typical art class lesson is in a middle school situation, and it varied wildly from 45 minutes to 90 minutes, depending on the school schedule, on the day, on the month of the year, all kinds of variables. So I decided to go for about 50 to 60-minute activities in order for them to be able to fit within that range. The other thing that I really wanted to include in this is using sustainable and locally sourced materials. And I sort of based all of this in Mesa because we're here. And I had a client who was also based in Mesa who worked with me on this. I just wanted to take a moment to really thank my users for this. I went to them so often with almost every iteration of the design that I came up with, and they were super helpful in influencing the way that these lesson plans look and so on and so forth. They were mostly excited about the fact that I was trying to bring all three of those concepts, nature, art, and mindfulness, together. They'd seen two of the three combined before, but not all three together, and so that seemed really innovative to them. So here, I'll take you through the activities one by one. We start with August, which is the first month of the school year here in Mesa, and I go all the way through April. Sometimes it goes into May, but it wasn't a whole month, so I decided to leave that one out. And August is a plant wall where they can implement, like that Colorado teacher, a 1-to-1 plant to student ratio. And this is a wall that is 4 by 4, and there's one of these trapezoids on every wall, and then the students can also share the same plant holder with two other of their classmates to bring it together in the classroom. For September and October, I suggest for them to learn how to make a pinch pot. This is a fun sculpting activity. And then they can put that pinch pot in a plant macrame hanger as well. These two are by companies that use sustainable sourced materials that you can just order on Amazon or wherever. And Amazon has the eco-friendly pledge for them as well. So they try to be more eco-friendly overall when ordering from those places. For November, I want them to put something in their beautiful pot and hanger that they just made. And green onions are a really great option for a classroom because all they need to grow is just water. And for this one, I suggest for them to keep a plant journal as their mindfulness activity. Speaking of the mindfulness activity, there's one for every single month of this program. And they vary a little bit in the prompts that are available, but they're really just meant for the students to, like I mentioned before, reflect on their time doing that activity, whether they really enjoyed the pot making or maybe that was a bit too much sensory overload for them. They get to reflect on that there and then conclude on it at the end of the program. This one is one that I asked them to put directly into their mindfulness journal called a commonplace book as well. And so they cut out one of these shapes, animal shapes that I designed, and take it outside and hold it up like you can see in that photo over on the, what is that? Your guys' left. And then they can put them in a collage in their journal or do a digital collage or however that works for them. These animals are all also local Arizona animals, the cactus wren, a rattlesnake, a coyote, and a jackrabbit. Meditation coloring pages may seem like a simple one, but it's actually a really good idea for the middle schoolers to have an activity that they can take home to their parents. As we have seen, I'm sure, mindfulness coloring pages are something usually marketed for adults, but it's something easily accessible for these middle school age children as well. And then they can feel like their parents a little bit while they're practicing this. For the last three, this is 2 of 3, February, March, I suggest to go on a field trip because I went on so many field trips when I was in middle school, and I think it's a fun activity. And while they're there, I suggest for them to pick up beets, spinach, turmeric, and blueberries, which are also some of the ingredients that my colleague Pratesh mentioned in his presentation during the second session. And from there, they can combine them with boiling water and turn it into a very simple watercolor paint. The next month, after that sort of setup, I suggest for them to do a watercolor painting. And I wanted to keep this activity simple. I'm not trying to teach them about shapes or color theory necessarily yet, although the teacher could include those lessons if she wanted. But for this, I just suggest to get some eco-friendly washi tape or painter's tape and draw little lines on the paper with the tape first. Play with angles, and then they can play with placing the colors that they made as well. For the last activity, I also suggest for them to paint in the previous activity a sheet of seed paper, which was one of the super cool sustainable materials I found. This seed paper, you can plant the whole sheet of paper in the ground and it'll sprout wildflowers that are non-invasive to Arizona. And so they can paint them with their natural paints and then do this quick origami activity and then share them amongst their classmates. Or maybe they get a stick that's the size of the whole wall and everybody in the class puts a butterfly on them. Very modular here. And then the conclusion mindfulness activity as well. Here's what it looks like when it's all put together with all the months in a row over there, and then all the supplemental activities like the coloring pages and those animal cutouts on the other side. And then here's what the outside of the cover looks like, with just a little blurb about what the activity is about, like if you were getting a book at a store. And for the next steps with this, like I mentioned, I have a client who's based in Mesa. It's the Next Education Workforce, and they're planning to work with me over the summer to implement this in Mesa school districts for next year. But I really hope to be able to expand this to other locales as well. Obviously, I've made this very central to Arizona and Phoenix. But I'm moving to Utah in a few months, and I would love to take it there as well and learn more about that city's culture and figure that out from there. And because, again, it's so modular and I did so much research to find this, this is something that is really easily updatable as research about mindfulness in middle school children and art and all of these things advances. So thank you, and remember to breathe. And now my colleague Zaabi.
All right, everyone. I know it's been a long day. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed faculty and fellow graduates, today I stand before you to imagine a world that many might consider utopian, a world free of profit-driven corporations where humanity's focus is directed towards sustainability, social justice, and a harmonious blend of nature and technology. I invite you all to embark on this journey with me as we explore how prefigurative politics, degrowth, conviviality, and solar punk can contribute to the realization of this vision. Our current global economic system is characterized by relentless growth, consumerism, and a persistent pursuit of profit. However, this has come at a steep cost: environmental degradation, social inequality, economical downfall, and a loss of community. In the words of the renowned environmentalist and philosopher Aldo Leopold, we abuse land because we regard it as a commodity belonging to us. When we see land as a community to which we belong, we may begin to use it with love and respect. The first concept I would like to discuss is prefigurative politics. It is a political philosophy that emphasizes the importance of embodying the values and structures of the society we wish to create in our current actions and relationships. In a sense, it is the practice of being the change you wish to see in the world. By adopting prefigurative politics, we can begin to nurture a society that is more equitable, compassionate, and environmentally responsible. Degrowth, as a concept, challenges the prevailing notion that economic growth is inherently good. It posits a reduction in production and consumption can lead to environmental sustainability, social well being of both people and the planet, or the accumulation of wealth. Conviviality, a term popularized by social critic Ivan Illich, emphasizes the importance of social interaction, cooperation, and mutual aid within communities. A convivial society is where people come together to address local issues, share resources, and foster a sense of belonging. This approach allows us to collectively develop solutions tailored to the unique needs of our communities. As a designer, I'm passionate about shaping the world we inhabit, and I believe that it is our collective responsibility to create spaces that foster collaboration, creativity, and sustainability. When I first came across the term solar punk, I was captivated by its essence. Solar punk is a movement that envisions a bright, optimistic future where society has harnessed the power of renewable energy, embraced ecological conservation, and promoted social equity. It is a world that embodies the essence of conviviality, a term coined by Ivan Illich in his seminal work, Tools for Conviviality. Illich argued that the key to a just and sustainable society lies in the creation of convivial tools, that is, tools that empower individuals and communities to meet their needs without reliance on bureaucratic or industrial systems. In this pursuit of this vision, we must first acknowledge the role of for-profit corporations that have played in shaping our society. While these entities have undoubtedly spurred innovation and economic growth, Illich argued that, by eliminating the dominance of corporations, we can foster a new economic model that prioritizes the well-being of people and planet over short-term profit. The importance to me lies in the potential for a better tomorrow. I believe that by embracing the principles of degrowth, conviviality, and solar punk, we can create a future that values the well being of all living beings and the planet we share. As the great environmentalist Rachel Carson once said, the human race is challenged more than ever before to demonstrate our mastery, not over nature, but of ourselves. My journey into the world of solar punk and sustainability began as a creative exploration. I was inspired by the city of Curitiba, Brazil, which serves as a prime example of sustainable development, combining innovative public transportation systems, extensive green spaces, and social inclusion initiatives under the leadership of architect and urban planner Jamie Lerner. I started with sketches of iconic cities like Seattle and New York reimagined through the lens of green technologies and harmonious integration with nature. These initial illustrations sparked my curiosity and passion for the solar punk ethos, leading me to question how I could showcase the transformative potential of these principles in a more tangible and impactful way. It was then I conceived the idea of reimagining Phoenix, Arizona into a solar punk city called Greater Phoenix Solaris. By transforming a city in an arid, sun-drenched environment, I could demonstrate the resilience and adaptability inherent in solar punk design. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Greater Phoenix Solaris, a visionary solar punk city that embraces a harmonious blend of nature and technology and sustainability. In this eco-friendly urban paradise, cutting-edge solar architecture meets verdant green spaces, fostering a thriving, environmentally conscious community. Join me as we explore Solaris, the city of the future. A massive solar disk hovers above the city, capturing sunlight to power the metropolis below. The megastructure not only generates clean energy, but also creates a visually stunning and iconic symbol of the city's commitment to sustainability, and also serves as a major public transit hub. Green infrastructure is the cornerstone of Solaris, with buildings and streets adorned with verdant vegetation, living walls, and rooftop gardens soften the urban landscape. This view here is the interior of the solar disk that boasts eco-transport with solar-powered public transportation options, including high-speed sun rails, reducing pollution. It also has a pedestrian network with shaded walkways and bike lanes promoting sustainable mobility, making the city interconnected. This is another view of the interior of the solar disk, which showcases a multi-level gardening system, allowing for life to thrive alongside us even in the busiest of days. This is a prime example of how we can learn to coexist with nature and embody the values of solar punk and convivial living. Let us talk about an individual experiencing life in a sector of Solaris. As we narrow down a week in the life of this individual, we can better see the bigger picture when we transition from macro to micro. The individual we are looking at is Mia Greenfield. Her occupation is that she's an urban agriculture specialist. She was born and raised in Greater Phoenix, Solaris. Her parents were early adopters of the solar punk movement and instilled in her a deep appreciation for the environment and sustainable living. She has a degree in environmental science with a focus on urban agriculture from the Solaris University. She is passionate about fostering a harmonious relationship between nature and urban living, which led her to become an urban agriculture specialist. Her week is as follows. On a Monday, Mia Greenfield begins her day waking up in a solar powered apartment filled with natural light and vibrant greenery. She steps into her open space living room where the warm morning sun illuminates the eco friendly decor and the thoughtful solar punk design elements. Mia then heads to her kitchen to prepare breakfast, selecting fresh fruits harvested from a vertical garden that grows lushly on her terrace. This garden is a testament to sustainable living, maximizing space while providing fresh organic produce. After enjoying a nutritious meal, she then hops on her electric solar powered bike and sets off for work. As she pedals through the city, this ease of interconnectedness that Solaris has built upon can be seen in Vauban and Freiburg, Germany. Vauban has been designed as a sustainable, eco-friendly community where cars are largely unnecessary and public transportation, walking, and cycling are prioritized. Through its emphasis on green spaces, energy efficient buildings, and decentralized energy production, Vauban demonstrates how urban design can create convivial environments that foster social cohesion and ecological stewardship. She then passes through three distinct neighborhoods, each showcasing unique aspects of solar punk, degrowth, and convivial living. The first neighborhood showcases water harvesting technology that is effective in combating drought and making Solaris a self replenishing water source, with every resident carrying the torch of degrowth, being mindful of reduction in consumption. Water scarcity is a trouble of the past. In the second neighborhood, houses can be seen integrated with solar panels, with wind turbines span across the horizon, utilizing wind energy to its maximum potential. An example of this being implemented today can be seen in the case of Costa Rica, an inspiring move by an entire country into transitioning into a sustainable energy future. By investing in electricity, geothermal, wind, and solar resources, Costa Rica has been able to generate more than 98% of its emission electricity from renewable resources in the recent years. This achievement not only reduces the country's greenhouse gases emissions, but also enhances energy security and resilience. In the third neighborhood, renowned for its distinct integration and of lush greenery and imaginative urban design, the Canopy District is often hailed as the epitome of solarpunk living. The houses, each uniquely designed, are adorned with vibrant vertical gardens, cascading vines, and rooftops steaming with life. It's as if each home is a living, breathing entity coexisting with the surrounding flora and fauna. In the heart of the Canopy district, she comes across a quaint cafe that serves locally sourced organic food. The cafe's terrace and walls are enveloped in fragrant jasmine and vibrant bougainvillea, creating an intimate atmosphere that encourages conversation and connection among its patrons, fostering conviviality. Mia appreciates the harmonious nature of Greater Phoenix, Solaris, as she rides through these neighborhoods, witnessing firsthand how the solarpunk ethos can create a thriving, sustainable, and interconnected community utilizing conviviality and degrowth to their full potential. On a Tuesday, she attends a community meeting at the Solaris Community Center, a space designed to promote civic engagement and encourage local participation in shaping the city's future. The citizens of Greater Phoenix are eager to embody prefigurative politics, enacting the changes they wish to see in their society by directly participating in decision making processes and grassroots initiatives. The center is a marvel of sustainable design, with its geodesic dome, solar panels, and walls adorned with plants that capture the spirit of the solar punk movement. The interior is designed to foster collaboration and conversation. As the meeting commences, the community members present various proposals and ideas to enhance the city's green spaces and further integrate solar technology into daily life. These proposals are guided by principles of prefigurative politics and conviviality. One proposal during this meeting suggests expanding the city's network and vertical gardens, providing workshop and resources for residents to create green spaces on their balconies and rooftops. This initiative aims to create local food production, reduce the urban heat island effect, and foster a sense of community through shared gardening experiences. On a Wednesday, she spends her day at the local urban farm, where she teaches school children about sustainable agriculture and the importance of a balanced ecosystem. The farm, powered by solar energy, features diverse crops, aquaponic systems, and pollinator habitats, all in a space saving vertical design. In this context, education plays a crucial role in Solaris, equipping individuals with knowledge and skills needed to drive change. As they raise the new generation, they prioritize ecological literacy, creative problem solving, and empathy. By cultivating a change of generation of change makers who understand the interconnectedness of their global ecosystem, they can ensure a more informed, compassionate, and proactive citizenry. On a Thursday, Mia visits the Phoenix Solaris Botanical Garden to research the new plant species that can be incorporated into the city's urban farms and green spaces. The garden boasts a biodiome powered by solar energy and a mix of desert flora and exotic plants, all thriving in harmony. On a Friday, Mia and her friends attend a concert at the Solaris Amphitheater, an open air venue that harnesses solar energy to power the stage and light displays. The concert promotes local musicians who create music inspired by solar punk movement, blending traditional instruments with innovative technology. On a Saturday, she participates in a neighborhood community kitchen where people come together and socialize, enriching their livelihood and building a sense of community, which showcases the concept of regrowth and convivial living. A community that works together, survives together. This ensures there are plenty of resources available for everyone. In the evening, she visits the Solaris Art Walk, where local artists showcase their solarpunk inspired creations made from recycled and sustainable materials. As you can see, this is the Solaris artwork. And then on a Sunday, well, unfortunately, Mia refused to offer any further comments as to what she does on a Sunday, as though, can you imagine having a whole day off in the future to recharge yourself? In this version of Phoenix, Arizona that fosters conviviality, degrowth, and prefigurative politics, Mia Greenfield embodies the solar punk spirit that actively engages with her community, benefiting from the harmonious blend of nature and technology that define the city. By examining these case studies tying back to life in Solaris, we can gain valuable insights into the practical application of solar punk principles and their potential to transform our world for the better. As we continue to advocate for a sustainable, equitable, and convivial future, these real world examples serve as a powerful testament of the transformative potential of our collective vision and the importance of taking action to make that vision a reality. The journey towards a solar punk future will not be without its challenges, but the potential rewards are immeasurable. In the pursuit, we must acknowledge the power of grassroots movements and the importance of local action. As the American anthropologist Margaret Mead famously said, never doubt that a small group of individuals, thoughtful, committed citizens, can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. As designers, educators, and global citizens, we have a unique opportunity to contribute to this vision using our skills, expertise, and passion to shape a more just and sustainable world. In the words of the renowned environmental activist Vandana Shiva, the most powerful force in the world is our capacity to create together, to think together, and to work together for a common good. Together, we can build a future that is rooted in sustainability, social justice, and the harmonious blend of nature and technology. A future where the values of prefigurative politics, degrowth, conviviality, and solar punk guide our actions and decisions. My future steps with this movement include collaboration, research and development, education and outreach, storytelling and media, and embodying the solar punk ethos in my daily life by adopting sustainable practices. As we stand here today at this graduate symposium, let us not only imagine this world, but also commit ourselves to making it a reality. Let us embrace the challenge and seize the opportunity to create a better future for ourselves, our communities, and our planet. For it is in our hands and through our collective efforts that we can bring about the transformative change that we so desperately need. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and let us embark on this journey together with courage, conviction, and unwavering belief in the power of our shared vision. Thank you.
All right. I wasn't really prepared to ask questions, and you're welcome to start off by asking me questions. But okay. Oops, is this on? Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Great projects, all of you, and great energy behind those. I was very impressed with kind of the intensity, the depth of your work, and process, and really the thoughtfulness that went into all of those projects. They're all really meaningful and relevant and very significant and timely. So appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Working on a project like this, thesis, I'd like to know if you could summarize 3 brief takeaways or important things about these projects. Just 3.
Okay. For me, mine 3 would be finding what I'm passionate about, finding a cause that matters to not only me but others, and making sure what I'm designing is designing for the public as a whole and not just myself.
Cool.
For me, I really feel like I learned a lot about finding users who were relevant to the thing that I was designing for. That was super important to me. Another thing that was really important that I learned was just about how to kind of manage my own timeline for this. There was a few different things I was, of course, doing at the same time, like everybody. And so finding the time to fit this project in with everything else was really valuable.
Like having a life.
Yeah, and having a life. We all know we don't have a life, but
It's over from now on.
yeah. And a third thing would probably just be that I really enjoy designing for that middle school age range that I focused on. I find it allows for a good bit of flexibility between good design that's actually interpreted by that audience and also still being able to be playful and excited about what I'm designing.
For me, my project personally, a lot of personal boundaries in terms of how far I could push myself in terms of creativity and realizing that and understanding what my capabilities are and the new things that I can explore. The ways that I can learn to storytell people and prove that we can move towards a future that, you know, we don't need to really be caught up in this race of just having more, but being happy with what we have. And I think it's really taught me that as a designer, and just to be like happy with what I have currently, appreciate things more. And yeah,
So how you can remain sustainable?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, this is a real easy question. Oops, except can't find it. What do you think about AI?
AI, I think the thing about AI is that I know there's so much happening, it's rapidly developing. And I know that designers, people in the tech industry, everyone is threatened by it. Everybody thinks they're going to lose their jobs. And at some places, I know automation is needed and, you know, people are being replaced. And I feel like that's just because it's something that's currently rising and it's kind of out of control because everybody wants to get into it. But it's something that I feel that even as designers, that we can learn to coexist with it. It doesn't have to be something that replaces us, because I don't think AI can capture human emotions. And what distinguishes AI art from human art is the fact that there's a soul and feel into it. And AI just comprises of a collection of images that's found on the internet and recycled and its own interpretation. So I think moving down the line, I don't think it's going to be something that we need to be scared of, but it's something that we'll work with and probably create some guidelines and limitations as to what would be the best practices to work with AI.
Yeah, I agree with Zaabi a lot there, where I feel like a couple things came out while I was working on this project. I think Google maybe or Adobe maybe came out with some AI thing that I got an early pass to, and they let me in there to go and play around with it a little bit, and it was really interesting that to see what it could create and what it couldn't create. It was interesting to me to play with the keywords to see if I could direct it to give me what I actually wanted. It seems to still really be struggling with graphic text. It doesn't really understand text very well yet, but I think, like Zaabi said, it's something that we'll be working with. We'll train it how to learn those things. And so I don't think it'll probably really ever be self-sufficient. There's always going to be people out there who want to embody the creativity, and they're always going to want that handmade feel more so than the fully AI version. But I do think it's something that we'll need to consider and incorporate into our future potentially.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of killing it with the answers there. But I think there's really great potential for it. Like in my project, how it can be used for the greater good and help people. But also there is that fear it is going to take over the world and take all our jobs. But what I've noticed when I've used it in the past is it, like they said, it lacks a personality. There's nothing really original that comes from it. Or when I look at it, like I could have made that better. So I think AI has a lot to learn, but hopefully we don't teach it too much so that it can't take over us.
Or not in your lifetime.
Yeah,
right?
not in my lifetime.
I'd be curious what people out there are thinking too about that, and hopefully we could talk a little bit more about that. Pick a favorite color and give an incredibly brief narrative of why it's your favorite color.
I guess mine is rainbow because I can't pick. And I really love all the individual colors in between are basic rainbow colors. And I'm sorry, I forgot the second part of your question.
A brief narrative.
Oh, brief narrative. I don't know. I think rainbow is fun and exciting, and you can do so much with it, and you can focus on certain areas of it, and then certain other. I don't know. It's got a lot of flexibility, and I think that's what I like about it.
Well, I think everybody who knows me knows that I'm a blue person. This is not a hard guess. I'm not really sure when that started. At some point, I started dyeing my hair blue. It was the first color I ever dyed my hair when I was about 19 or so. And I think from there, everybody just started kind of pinning it on me. And I was like, I like this. I'm happy about it. And so I just kept being a blue person. My hair's been all the colors now, but I still prefer to be blue over everything.
Black has always been my favorite color. I mean, today my girlfriend asked me not to wear it for the first time, but I guess I would just summarize it in 3 words: that it's powerful, elegant, and classy. And I just love everything about how your outfit looks, honestly.
So you opted not to be powerful and classy for your presentation, right?
Bit uncomfortable.
Excellent choice. I think that's pretty much the questions. Are people in the audience allowed to ask questions of them? There's a couple of architects in the audience. I was curious if they would have questions about the last presentation on solar punk existence. Maybe they left.
Oh, yes, okay. There, and then I'll come back.
This is awful.
Thank you, everybody. So I'm wondering how doing your project and the process you had working on it has shaped where you want to go, what you want to do next.
Oh, you're so good. For me, I really do want to focus on community engagement more. And this project has been exciting because I have a personal relationship for it, but it's really helped me fuel different avenues of community engagement and how to help people who may not have a platform and give them a platform and allow their voice to be heard, and how I can support them and not speak for them.
I think I mentioned I have a client for my project that I'm working with already, and so I'm very excited to move forward with that. But before I had that, I was really just happy to learn from this process about how much flexibility I appreciated, both with the design outcome that I came up with, but also with how my process might take me and how much I might need a downtime to work on something else and then come back to it, and things like that being really important to me overall.
For me, like where I see myself going is it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me in terms of where I could go in terms of design. You know, initially I was like, I started with graphic design, went to motion graphics, then did instructional design. And then all these things. And then the more like you work on things and you unlock like these different areas of yourself, which you never knew existed. And then you're even more confused as that when you started, so what I'm actually good at. The thing is that it's just about holding on to one thing and then just following it. And I think with something like this, it's being a city planner or like, being a concept artist or a storyteller or doing world building for a video game company. It now opens up a lot of things which I'm scratching my head even more since nearing my master's end.
I don't know if so much I have a question. I'm a teacher and an architect. But I was actually surprised and impressed at the people that you've been reading, probably online. But the quotes that you were taking out of Margaret Mead, Ivan Illich, E.O. Wilson, I'm surprised any of you even know who E.O. Wilson is. There's a number of other books I could give you to read besides E.O. Wilson. But I think the subject matter is what's really heartwarming and keeps my optimism at fever pitch is the fact that you see that you got to really take on the problems that my generation has created for the world, for all of you. But I think what you also have to think about is how do you get on the other side? How do you basically begin to work with the algorithms and not just what the algorithms are telling you got to deal with? So you basically got to literally move up the food chain with power. But on the last one, it was really urban design. When you see visual communications, you don't expect to see somebody taking on the whole city, or visual communications taking on and even knowing about the term neurodiversity. About 5 years ago, I read a book, Neurotribes, because I was working with an autistic family, and it was pretty amazing. And then the well-gardened mind, how nature really is healing. And I think all of those are really critical. Now the heavy lifting is not only thinking about it and trying to find people that let you do it, but you guys do it. Anyways, it was really really good. So
Thank you so much. I'm a big reader, so I'll definitely hear your book recommendations.
well, the well-gardened mind might be. Have you read that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Yeah. Anything on farming, the pastoral song. There's a number of books that the greatest amount, which is really what surprised me, the greatest amount of carbon emissions doesn't come from automobiles. It comes from industrial farming. Carbon is trapped in the soil. It's not trapped. Carbon is in the soil. When you slice the ground, the carbon is released. And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I think the more informed that you become, the more you're going to be able to do it, all of you. So amazing. That's good.
Thank you.
Now I can be sun-dazed with you guys now taking the responsibility for all of the problems.
I know. Scary. Yeah, I'll take it over.
Naomi, I'll get to you.
Michael, sit with it. Yeah. Hello. So all of you had very important keywords and terms and definitions. You know, Claire had neurodiversity, Sarah had mindfulness, Zaabi had prefigurative politics. And I was just wondering what went into selecting those terms and if you ran into any kind of different definitions and how you worked through selecting that with your sources. So for me in particular, dyslexia or other neurodiversities have often been referred to as learning disabilities. I'm actually very used to that because that's the term that was used with me growing up. But what really helped me discover the term neurodiversity and embrace it was I found this podcast of a designer. It's called Dyslexic Design. And he's really trying to change the conversation and stereotypes around dyslexia. So he started using this term neurodiversity, and then I looked it up and I was like, this is awesome. This helps us embrace our differences in a positive light rather than a negative light. That's been the case for so long. So I really wanted to use this because not only is it new and it's fresh, but I think it gives kids hope that they're not bad or wrong. They're just different.
Yeah, for me, that term mindfulness is one that I sort of just inherently learned from being in psychology. It was never really defined for me at all, and I've met several different people who use the same term. But for me, the definition I really wanted to focus on was specifically for my targeted age range, in a way that maybe they could understand it. And so I really think that mindfulness just means reflecting on your life and just reflecting on your experiences overall. And there are many different forms that can take, but I think that's the basis of it.
For me, terms such as prefigurative politics, conviviality, and degrowth, the ones that I spoke about, honestly, I had no idea they even existed initially. I started my research with solar punk, and when I realized there's this future that we can imagine where human beings can coexist with nature and technology, it kind of delved me deep into realizing how we can achieve that vision, and through that vision, actually make it happen. Build a selling point for people to actually understand that it's a possibility, because we have corporations, we have so many systems in place, and we think it's absolutely impossible to change the way the things are. But the reason why things don't change the way they are is because we think that they won't. And the thing is, the more that we get people to understand and to stand up and open up and be more like open to these principles, and honestly, I feel like these are some things along the way. I'm sure you already embody these principles in many ways, but you just don't realize it. But I hope that everyone here in this room in the future continues to slowly move towards a more sustainable future. So we can be more satisfied with, the concept of less is more. Thank you.
Oh, I have a question. So I actually was I wanted to direct this question towards Zaabi. So looking at your project, to me, it reminded me a lot of concept art. And just to give some context, like I used to work as a concept artist in the video game industry. And typically, like, you know, if I'm in a concept art like environment, that's what I tend to think like. But if I'm in a design environment, like I try to think of more, I guess, graphic design solutions that I know of. So I'm curious, like, what made you go that route? Because for me, like, if I'm in a design like headspace, my first idea in terms of a deliverable is a website, a pamphlet, or like why, like what made you choose that as a deliverable? And then just a question for everybody, or you know, you guys up there. I am curious, like how much, like for you guys, how much do you think design, like what are the limitations of design for you guys? I'm just very curious.
Thank you for that question. I think it's really important that you mentioned that this is not a conventional design deliverable in terms of like doing world building, because that's not the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about it in terms of graphic design. It was so I visited Barnes and Nobles one day and I just saw this huge, really beautiful illustrated books with you know, a galaxy encyclopedia that had all these different planets, you know, the species that live there, the humans that live there, the technologies that they utilize, and it was so beautiful, and it just stuck with me. And I just thought to myself that, you know, if I get the opportunity one day, I'm gonna do it, and why shouldn't I? I have the tools. I think I have the time where I can learn these things. I mean, there's so much information available, and you know, honestly, if you just start, you just commit to something, then you go all the way. So for me, I looked at this concept of building Phoenix. It started out as literally building out a galaxy of interconnected planets. But then I thought, in the short time frame we have, that's a mammoth task to take on. And then shorten it down to like, you know, a handful of cities. But even then, it's like having to do this for a handful of cities to prove your point would be too much. Then narrowing down to where we are today, where we can actually relate to an individual. So I went down that road, and ultimately, once I decided that I wanted to build a city, I let go of the basic design conventions that, you know, I want to focus on typography, I want to focus on the slide, the PowerPoint, and all these other things, utilizing the two things I know best, motion graphics and illustrations, and just combining those and seeing how far I can go. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
As far as limitations go, I feel like that's one of the reasons that I chose visual communication design instead of graphic design as the major for our master's degree. And that's because I feel like there's so much that you can communicate through design, and I just don't even know that there is a limit to that. I mean, what's the limit to talking, right? So I feel like the applications are endless, and there's so many ways we can go. And we can do city urban design, we can do, you know, folder design, we can do typeface design and app design. Like there's so many. I honestly can't think of one. Really, I mean, especially with a big group of designers, you're gonna get more and more ideas, and it'll just go forever.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the only limits you can put on it is what you put on yourself. And I think failure is part of the learning process, and it's really hard to embrace failure, but once you do that, all the limitations go away. There's a little sprinkle of design in everything, and if you find that little niche, then your limitations, like I said, whoosh, they're gone.
I think that was a great ending. Thanks, you guys. So at this point, we would love to ask all of the students, as well as all of the keynote speakers, to come up front. You're already hearing from. Oh yeah. I wonder if somebody, Leo, can you take a picture of us, maybe? That's fine. Yeah, actually, if somebody's back there, can we change the lighting? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, let's do half.
All right. And then can we turn these down?
Can we turn those down?
Yeah, which one are you?
Let me try room discuss. We want those. Oh, it's getting cold.
Real lecture?
All right, that
There
might be
we
better.
go.
That's good.
There we go.
Yes.
It's very state of the art.
Let's get together.
Okay.
Faculty on the edge. Closer, closer, closer. No, let's make 2 rows. Yeah, let's even out. You should have batteries. Yeah. Do we fit?
Yeah, you fit.
Oh, hey, Leo. All right. Thank you. All right, but wait, there's more. I will give the microphone to Sam.
Just us as the students wanted to give you guys a little goodie bags as thank yous for coming to this. Sorry.
Thank you so much.
Hands full of things. Thank you. And thank you too as well. Yeah. Thank you.
So what a day this has been. You guys can sit down just for a second. Yes, thank you. Yes, nobody's listening. So we've heard lots of conversations today, ideas, inspirations, the overall topics that I was keeping track of, and it's not all inclusive, but I heard patterns in nature, relationships, technology, social change and activism, ethics, and future visions. And all of those ideas we hope will let the audience take these ideas and perpetuate themselves out in the world as ripples, just like this symposium started as the idea that we want to have ideas that move the mind to cause ripples in the world to make the place a better place. And so all of these ideas we hope that you guys can take forth into your own life and allow those to continue to ripple.
And we want to thank all of you guys for coming and all of our people who are virtual. Thank you for being here. We want to especially thank Teresa Moses, George A., and April Greiman for visiting with us and for sharing your wisdom and knowledge. And I especially want to thank all 9 of our graduating MVCD students for their amazing work. And I can't tell you how proud I am and how amazed I am at the growth that you guys have shown over the 2 years that I've known you. I'm gonna get all like weepy.
Oh, yeah.
But I know that you guys will be making change in the world throughout your lives. And I'm really excited to see what you're gonna be able to do. It's gonna be big.
Yes.
So to wrap up, I just want to say to our people online and to those of you in the room, our MVCD program is accepting applications for the fall of 2024. And we
The
would
PhD
love,
program as well, by the way. Hint, hint.
we would love to have new visionary cohorts come through and help us change the world. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next year. Did I
Yeah.
forget something?
Well, I also wanted to thank Roman for being here, for spending 2 days with our students, supporting the final reviews of the first years, which are not here anymore, but they also did huge help throughout the day as volunteers, making sure that we can run our stuff with technology. And Leo, who helped us promote this event and helped us come up with a plan on how to talk about it in the public realm. So thank you, everyone, for everything you've done. Yeah, I'm not going to address the students because I will cry and that will be ugly. And so I'm not going to do that right now on stage on the microphone. Thank you, everybody.